We set a 5,000 ounce gold and we're able to up the ante. We're in striking distance of 7,000 ounces, which is unbelievable.
If the greatest gold treasure of this century were hidden in a place that struck fear into everyone who saw it, where every step could mean death and no one had dared to enter for years, that place would be Yukon's infamous Widow's Cut. It was a decaying, frozen, and deadly mine believed to be cursed, a place where anyone who ventured in either died or never came back. Yet this was exactly where Parker Schnabel made the biggest gamble of his life. While everyone else saw danger, Parker had something no one else did: data. Advanced ground scans showed that the density beneath Widow's Cut was nearly 3 times higher than normal. Metal readings were off the charts. Experts believed that if the gold vein beneath the surface was still intact, its value could exceed $75 million. But there was a terrifying problem. The area was locked in permafrost, ground frozen solid for thousands of years. Even a small mistake could cause the shaft to collapse. Water could rush in from above, machinery could freeze instantly, and pipes could burst without warning. Every moment carried the risk of death. Even Parker's own crew believed this mission was nothing short of suicide. Still, Parker refused to back down. He brought in high-tech drilling equipment and began carefully cutting into the frozen ground. The moment the drill broke through the lower layer, everything changed. Thick, heavy material came out, dark, shiny, and rich with gold. The kind of gold people talk about in legends, not reality. That discovery raised one terrifying question. Was Parker sitting on a $75 million treasure? Or was Widow's Cut about to claim another victim? If you want to see the real side of the gold rush, no drama, no exaggeration, just real risk and real gold, then watch this story to the end. Because this isn't just a tale, it's history. The chilling history of Widow's Cut and Parker Schnabel's greatest gamble. Even today, the name Widow's Cut is enough to silence veteran Yukon miners. This was no ordinary mine. It was known as Death's Door. When excavation first began years earlier, everything seemed normal. But as workers dug deeper, conditions rapidly worsened. The ground suddenly gave way. Ice and rock crashed from the walls. Some workers barely escaped with their lives. Other accidents were so horrific that the full details were never made public. Soon, rumors spread. Some believed a powerful underground water flow was weakening the ground. Others said the entire area was geologically unstable. Machinery broke down constantly for no clear reason. Workers refused to enter the site. Eventually, conditions became so dangerous that the mine was officially shut down. That's when it earned the name Widow's Cut, a place said to destroy the fate of anyone who dared to enter. For years, no mining company went near it. Digging there was considered a death sentence. The frozen ground was nearly impenetrable, machines failed, and the threat of flooding was constant. Old miners said it plainly. There may be gold down there, but life is worth more. Then came Parker Schnabel. While everyone else turned away, Parker looked deeper. He studied old mining records, analyzed satellite images, and ordered modern ground scans using cutting-edge technology. What he discovered shocked everyone. The density of the ground was far higher than normal. Metal signals were incredibly strong. These were unmistakable signs that something massive was hidden below, something far bigger than an ordinary gold vein. Despite the evidence, no one supported him. His crew was terrified. Experts warned him it was madness, but Parker knew opportunities like this come once in a lifetime. For him, this wasn't just about gold. It was about proving himself. He stood at a crossroads. Make history or lose everything. Parker chose to gamble. He committed to Widow's Cut, brought in new equipment, changed the entire mining strategy, and began digging again. Everyone understood the stakes. If this gamble failed, the cost wouldn't just be money, it could be lives. What happened next would go on to shake the history of the gold rush. The $75 million estimate wasn't guesswork. It was backed by solid science. Detailed ground scans revealed that the abandoned site had nearly triple the density of surrounding land. Such readings typically indicate the presence of heavy metals, and gold quickly became the primary suspect. As the scans continued, sensors began reacting abnormally. Metal readings surged far beyond normal levels. In some areas, machines repeatedly triggered alarms. Experts explained that this only happens when extremely dense minerals or high-grade gold deposits are present. This wasn't a small vein. It appeared to be a massive gold zone. Core samples confirmed it. The soil was darker, heavier, and visibly shiny. Gold particles could be seen with the naked eye, classic signs of a major discovery. Reports suggested that the gold concentration here could be many times higher than in a standard mine. That's when the shocking number emerged: $75 million. Experts calculated this by grading the gold content per ton of soil, estimating the size and depth of the deposit, and factoring in the layers of ground. When combined with the market price of gold at the time, the value reached $75 million, or possibly even more. But all of this existed only on paper. The real challenge was reaching the gold. The ground was frozen solid. Water threatened to flood the shafts at any moment. The upper layers were dangerously unstable. One wrong move could collapse the entire tunnel. This was exactly why every other company had walked away years earlier. Widow's Cut didn't forgive mistakes, and now Parker Schnabel was standing face to face with it, ready to find out whether this place would make him a legend or its next victim. For Parker, this was never just about money. It was the greatest test of his career. If he was right, this discovery could become his biggest victory. But if he was wrong, he wouldn't just lose millions. His life and the lives of his crew could be at risk. That's why the team felt both excitement and fear at the same time. Everyone was focused on one question: would the data hold true? Was there really a massive treasure buried below? Or would Widow's Cut turn out to be nothing more than another deadly illusion? From this point forward, the story was about to become far more dangerous. The greatest enemy at Widow's Cut wasn't gold, it was permafrost. Most people think frozen ground is just cold dirt, but permafrost is far more treacherous. It's soil that has remained frozen for thousands of years, compressed so tightly that it can be harder than stone. Digging through it is like trying to break an iron wall. Drill bits wear down, blades snap, and machines struggle to make progress. But the real danger begins when that frozen ground starts to thaw. As soon as heat from machinery reaches it, the permafrost loosens its grip. The once solid ground suddenly becomes unstable. The upper layers begin to slide, and at any moment, the entire tunnel can collapse. That's why mines built in permafrost are considered some of the most dangerous in the world. This was exactly the situation at Widow's Cut. From the surface, everything appeared calm. But underground, conditions were incredibly fragile. Beneath the frozen soil were thin layers of trapped water. If that water broke through, it could flood the tunnel in seconds. Former miners say that in places like this, there's often no time to escape. That's why Widow's Cut had been abandoned years earlier. Others had tried before. But the moment digging began, cracks formed in the walls, snow and ice fell from above, and machines became stuck. Some accidents were so severe that their full details were never documented. After that, the site earned its dark reputation as a mine of death. Now, with Parker back at work, the danger was even greater. Every time the drill pierced the ground, everyone held their breath. One wrong angle, one wrong amount of pressure, and the entire tunnel could collapse. The machines above and the workers below could be buried instantly. This fear hung over the crew constantly. No one said it out loud, but everyone was thinking the same thing. What if it all comes down right now? Every vibration, every unfamiliar sound made people jump. Sometimes the ground cracked, echoing through the tunnel like something breaking. In that silence, it didn't just sound like machinery, it sounded like death approaching. For Parker, this was no longer just a mining operation. It was a life and death decision. He knew that even the smallest mistake could destroy his dream and put his team in grave danger. Still, he refused to walk away. Opportunities like this come once in a lifetime. This is where Widow's Cut became truly terrifying. It was no longer just a search for gold. It was a battle between man and the earth itself. And the most frightening threat wasn't the ground alone, but the water hidden beneath it. This wasn't ordinary water. It had been trapped under centuries of frozen ice, and if released, it could destroy everything in its path. In mining, sudden water intrusion is one of the deadliest risks because it gives no warning. One moment everything seems stable, and the next, the tunnel is completely flooded. As excavation continued, small signs began to appear. At first, there was dampness. Then droplets formed on the walls. To experienced eyes, this was a serious warning. If these leaks were connected to a larger underground pocket, thousands of liters of water could rush in within seconds, leaving no chance of escape. The worst fear was that water could trigger a full collapse. When water enters permafrost, the frozen soil instantly loosens. The upper layers break apart, and massive rocks can fall. If that happened, machines would be buried, access routes blocked, and anyone inside would be trapped with no way out. The crew worked under constant tension. Pumps were kept on standby, and drainage systems were installed, but everyone knew the truth. If a powerful water surge began, no system would be strong enough to stop it. That's why every drilling session made hearts race. No one wanted Widow's Cut to live up to its deadly name once again. And water wasn't the only enemy. The brutal cold of the Yukon caused constant machine failures. Temperatures dropped so low that even heavy steel equipment struggled to function. Water froze inside pipes, hydraulic systems slowed down, and entire machines would suddenly shut off. The drill stalled again and again. Sometimes the blades froze solid. Other times the motor failed completely. Each breakdown meant lost time and lost money. Every hour cost thousands of dollars. Worse still, repairing machines in such extreme cold was dangerous in itself. Mechanics worked non-stop, opening machines, pumping hot air into frozen parts, and replacing oil. But the problems never truly went away. At times, it felt as though the machines themselves were refusing to operate, as if the land was rejecting them. Expenses climbed rapidly. Fuel, labor, repairs, everything drained the budget. And hanging over it all was the fear that if results didn't come soon, the entire operation would have to be shut down. The team was physically exhausted and mentally drained, yet stopping wasn't an option. This was the point where most people would have walked away. But Parker didn't. He believed that the greater the risk, the greater the reward. If he backed out now, years of effort would be wasted. As the excavation continued, the strain was clear on every face. Fear, pressure, and exhaustion followed the crew at every step. Yet they pushed forward, knowing that history was being decided beneath their feet. From the surface, everything looked normal. But underground, the reality was very different. Every worker knew they were operating in a place where even the smallest mistake could cost a life. The strange sounds echoing below, the unusual vibrations of the machines, and snow and ice falling from the walls were enough to rattle even the most experienced miners. Many crew members began to openly say they didn't want to go back inside. Others stayed silent, but the fear was clear on their faces. Some were thinking about their children. Others questioned whether this job was worth the risk. The tension grew so heavy that people simply looked at one another, waiting for someone else to make the call. The hardest part was that the fear wasn't just around them, it was inside them. Every time the drill was switched on, everyone held their breath. No one knew what the next moment would bring, a breakthrough or a disaster. Some workers even said that if conditions didn't change, they would walk away. This wasn't just physical exhaustion anymore, it was mental collapse. Sleep was scarce. The cold cut straight through to the bone. And the constant awareness of death hung over everything. Quiet conversations started to happen among the crew. Should we stay? Is this the right choice? No one wanted to move forward, but no one had the courage to step back either. All eyes turned to one man, Parker Schnabel. This was no longer just a mining job. It had become a true test of leadership. The crew was afraid, costs were climbing, and danger surrounded them. At a moment like this, one wrong decision could end the entire operation. Parker faced two impossible choices: stop everything and protect lives, or move forward and risk everything to make history. If he stopped, people would say he gave in to fear. If he continued, someone could get hurt. This is the kind of decision that defines a leader. The team didn't say much, but they were watching him closely. Parker understood that this wasn't about machines or money. It was about people. He gathered the crew and spoke honestly. He made it clear that no one would be forced to go inside. At the same time, he told them the truth. If they walked away now, they might never get another opportunity like this. Whatever was beneath Widow's cut was not ordinary. It would either change everything or destroy everything. This was the moment Parker proved himself not just as a miner, but as a leader. He didn't ignore the danger, and he didn't run from it either. He chose to move forward carefully, fully aware of every risk. When drilling resumed, the entire site fell silent. This wasn't a routine excavation. Every step was planned with extreme precision. The drill was lowered slowly, almost as if asking permission from the ground itself. Data was monitored inch by inch. Pressure, movement, and vibrations were constantly checked. There was no room for haste. One mistake could bring everything down. As the drill went deeper, the atmosphere grew heavier. The only sound was the low hum of the machine. No one smiled. Everyone stood frozen, knowing that if something went wrong, escape might not be possible. The air was bitterly cold, yet sweat ran down their backs from fear alone. Every few minutes, the machine was stopped. Data was reviewed again and again. Temperature, pressure, and ground movement were carefully analyzed. It felt as though something powerful was hidden below, ready to reveal itself at any moment. People exchanged nervous glances, but no one spoke. Then it happened. The sound of the machine changed. What had been steady suddenly grew deeper and heavier. The vibrations felt different. Numbers on the screen began to shift rapidly. The operator shut the drill down immediately. A thick silence fell over the site. No one moved. When the material brought up by the drill was examined, eyes widened in disbelief. This wasn't ordinary soil. It was darker, heavier, and carried a faint shine. Veteran miners recognized it instantly. This was no normal layer of earth. It was the sign they had been searching for. For a moment, no one spoke. Hope and fear stood side by side. Everyone knew they were close to something enormous. At the same time, they understood that pushing further would only increase the danger. The ground was still unstable, water remained a threat, and one wrong move could erase everything. Parker stood quietly, watching. His face gave nothing away, but his mind was racing. He knew this could be the defining moment of his life. If he chose to continue, history would be made, or it would all end here. There was no easy way back. At that moment, it became clear that this was no longer just a hunt for gold. It was a test of courage, judgment, and fate itself. As the material from the drill was examined more closely, everyone leaned in. It wasn't ordinary clay. It was darker, heavier than expected, and carried an unusual sheen. Shiny particles were clearly visible within it, something experienced miners never mistake. This was the layer that makes hearts race. The sign that something extraordinary was waiting just below. The sample was carefully cleaned, and when it was held up to the light, all uncertainty disappeared. This wasn't just damp clay. It contained clear traces of metal. Several team members were left nearly speechless. No one said anything out loud because everyone understood what this could mean. If their instincts were right, they were standing on the edge of a historic discovery. Hope returned to some faces, while fear deepened on others. Along with the excitement came the most difficult question of all. Should they go deeper? Every step forward increased the risk. The ground was already unstable. The threat of water remained, and the machines were operating at their limits. One wrong move could cause the entire tunnel to collapse. If that happened, it wouldn't just mean losing millions of dollars. It could cost lives. This was the moment when a real decision had to be made. Stopping now would keep everyone safer, but it would also mean walking away from gold estimated to be worth around $75 million. Continuing forward, however, meant everything was on the line. History could be made, or everything could be lost. This was no longer about money. It was a test of courage, belief, and fate. All eyes turned to Parker. No one spoke, but everyone was waiting for his answer. He knew how heavy this decision was. On one side were human lives. On the other was the opportunity of a lifetime. His face showed exhaustion, but his eyes still burned with the determination that had brought him this far. He paused, took a deep breath, and did what true leaders do. He acknowledged the fear, but refused to let it control him. And that was the moment the story shifted. This wasn't just an excavation anymore. It was a chance to make history. What lay beneath the surface wasn't fully revealed yet, but one thing was certain. It was no ordinary find. Something powerful was hidden below, something that had drawn everyone to this place. This was not the end of the story. It was only the beginning. Because the truth was still buried beneath the ground, and what awaited them next was beyond anything they had imagined. Please subscribe to the Timeful channel, and don't forget to like the video.